Hello and welcome to the Go Smart webinar for August 2018. We'll be talking about the API that Go Smart now has available, and this will be a continuation of a conversation that we started earlier this summer where we just discussed what an API is and talked briefly about the API in Go Smart. Now this part of the conversation is going to build on that. We'll do a quick review, and then we're going to talk about a tool that we recommend you use in partnership with our API to get the most out of your Go Smart data. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Jessica Gronick. I'm the program manager for Go Smart, and typically the first person you'll talk to whenever you have questions about using our software. What does Go Smart's API mean for you? When we think about what it means for you, let's review what is an API. So a very technical definition is that it's a bridge between two or more applications that can automatically export digital data or files from one application into another. And this usually happens in the background, behind the scenes, once you've set up a workflow, so that basically you're taking your data from one place and using it in a valuable way in another application. So we all work with digital data all the time, and there's no reason why a digital piece of information or a digital file over here shouldn't be working smart for you over somewhere else when everything we use is digital. So just to give you an example of what this bridge might look like, looking down at this infograph, we've got a starting point, that second little circle called Go Smart, and then we see that our data jumps from there to the API, and then it jumps from there to, in this example, MailChimp. So this example shows how you might use the Go Smart API to create a workflow that will convert all new and updated users profile data from Go Smart into a list in your MailChimp account. Now I know that feels like we're missing some steps. How do we go from Go Smart to the API to MailChimp? And there's a couple different ways you can do that. One of the ways is providing an API key to your IT team and allowing them to truly work some magic. Another way that we're going to talk about in just a second is to use a tool called Zapier to work as that bridge between Go Smart and MailChimp. But let me back up a bit. When we talk about providing the API key to either your IT team or to a product software like Zapier, maybe you're wondering, what is an API key? So this is something that is going to be a long string of characters like you see here. And it's a piece of, or really a key, like it's called, that one software piece uses to access another software. So technically, where will you find, or logistically, where will you find this key? So right now, this should look familiar to you. We're looking at the admin portal of Go Smart, and right now your tabs go from reports to help. We have a new tab called API, and all you have to do is chat with us and we'll turn it on, and then you'll be able to access it whenever you're logged in as an admin. And what you're going to do is navigate to that API tab, then you'll see a new screen, and let's just peek at what that might look like for a first-time user. You'll head over to that API tab. The first thing you're going to see is Show Key. You can either click that and then you'll see that long string. You can regenerate the key, but be wary of this. This means that you're basically saying, okay, the key to get into my Go Smart data is now going to be regenerated, which means anything you created with the initial key is going to change, but we'll talk more about that once everybody gets comfortable using the API key. All you need to know right now is this is where you're going to find that key, this is where you can view it. The second thing you'll do from this API tab is to create a username for this key. Now, if you don't create a username and a password here, you'll basically be using your admin.gosmart.org credentials when you provide this key. And that's fine, but we do recommend that you do generate a username and a password the first time you generate a key, and then keep that information somewhere safe. As you can see, this password is now protected, and when you return to this page, you won't be able to access it or review it again. So if you've lost it, you'll need to regenerate a password, which in essence will regenerate a key, which again will sort of restart your whole process. So I recommend grabbing this key. This is always visible. and err on the side of not regenerating a key and not regenerating a username and a password. But so that's finding your key. And then you can always use that key, as I said, in product software like Zapier, or provide it to your IT team, and they'll know what to do with it. So again, we sort of just covered this. You can either provide it to your IT team, and they can create endless opportunities to connect your GoSmart data with custom databases and products. But what we're recommending is that you use Zapier to connect your GoSmart data with thousands of popular programs. This will help you avoid high development costs or lengthy development time. So what is Zapier? Well, Zapier is a cloud-based API product that can connect your GoSmart data with thousands of other popular products that have also signed on to Zapier and created some tools for you to use. So developers for all participating software programs, including GoSmart, but including things like the Google Suite, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Emma, a myriad of other programs that we'll see in just a moment, we have all built out several triggers and endpoints that can be used to create zaps in Zapier. So I know right off the bat that's a lot of lingo, so let's talk a little bit about what some of those things are. So a zap in Zapier is a connection or integration between two or more apps that automates your task. So a zap is made up of a trigger. For example, in GoSmart, a trigger might be when applicant submits, or when an applicant updates their profile or registers for the first time. That's a trigger that we've created. When a trigger and an action work together, that's a zap. And an action is going to be something like dumping all of the attached media into a cloud storage product, or updating a MailChimp list, or creating and updating a new spreadsheet. So zaps run automatically to move and manage data without any work on your part after the initial setup. And a task is every time a zap moves a piece of data or a file or takes an action on your behalf. And an endpoint here is a digital data piece or file that can come from one program and can automatically be input into another program. So our developers selected several endpoints from the GoSmart workflow and have made them available. But be aware that not all of your data is going to be available to pick and choose. Mostly because your applications are so customized, things like your application data, you're still going to want to pull from a custom report and then use how you see fit. The endpoints that are currently available to you are things that are available across every agency, like profile information, like media endpoints, because all of that media, your audio, video, document, and image files all go to the same type of sort of warehouse. And so that way we're able to point to those places as endpoints, and Zapier and our developers and our API can see each of those sort of warehouse spots as endpoints. So how might you use Zapier? Well, we're currently in beta testing, but after we have set GoSmart live on Zapier with the help of some of you, you will do the following. You'll jump into Zapier and create an account. You'll search through the myriad of apps or programs available to you and decide how you want to make your GoSmart data work for you. And then you'll make a zap by connecting GoSmart to another product. You'll select your trigger from the list of available options that we'll see in just a moment. You'll select your action based on what you want to do with that data or that media. And then you'll run a test. And then if it works for you, you'll sit back and wait for the magic to happen behind the scenes. So before we jump in and do a demo, let's talk about the types of zaps that are available to you as soon as beta testing is complete or while you're beta testing. So you can get really creative depending on your comfort with Zapier and the subscription level you purchase. We'll talk later about the levels you can use. There's a free option, and then there are multiple higher options. But the zaps that we have envisioned when we created the existing triggers and endpoints are things like updating a CMS or mail service list as GoSmart profiles are added or updated, creating notifications, mostly internal, so maybe you want to make sure that your whole staff gets notified either via Slack or email or another means of notification based on when folks register or submit something in GoSmart. or something like dumping submitted media into a cloud storage software. So every time an applicant clicks submit, if there's media attached, you can say, I want all that media to go to my Google Drive or my Dropbox or my OneDrive or whatever kind of cloud storage you currently use that's available in Zapier. So those are the three main things we envision right now. We can always grow this opportunity, but we need to hear from you to know what's important and what's valuable, and then just have a conversation about what's possible. But before we move on, let's head into Zapier so you can get a sense of what that looks like and see if you have any questions. So we're at zapier.com. If you feel like beta testing, I can send you a quick tutorial that'll get you right into Zapier as a test user for GoSmart. If you jump over here without reaching out to us first, you're certainly welcome to create a Zapier account, but you won't see GoSmart as an option unless you use our invitation code or until we've gone live, which will probably be a couple weeks or months down the road. But in the meantime, when you head to zapier.com, you'll log in or you'll follow our code, and then you'll see a screen that looks a bit like this, where you'll sort of see what's new in Zapier, what's going on. They'll ask, what do you want to automate today? But you can jump right into either viewing your past Zaps by clicking on Zaps or jumping right into Make a Zap. Now, we have created several Zaps already just in the name of testing. And we've got about 15 drafts made and then 4 active Zaps created. You'll see that we have one for cloud storage media dumping, one for a MailChimp list update, one for post-release account updated. So as folks came in and updated their registration or registered for the first time, it sent a message to our Slack chat. And then we've got one in the making here. So I'm going to walk you through making a Zap really quickly, and I'm going to just follow the steps that I use to do this cloud storage media dump. So when you're ready to make a Zap, if you're logged in, again, with our invitation code that I can give you with this tutorial, you'll click Make a Zap. On your left-hand side, you can see a couple options. You can name your Zap right away, and I'm going to take us through a media dump. So for now, I'm just going to call it something kind of rough. Then we'll see that we can build our trigger and then our action. So within the trigger, the first step is going to be to choose our app. And you can see there's some common apps here, there's some other built-in apps, and then you can of course choose from their entire exhaustive list. But we're going to search for GoSmart. When you use our invitation code, you'll only see this first GoSmart option. You won't see these other 3 that our developers were using. So you'll click on the GoSmart 1.0.0 and select that. Then you're going to choose the trigger from the list of available options. And as I said before, our developers created 5 specific triggers. This list might grow as we have more conversations with you, but for now, the main triggers are when an applicant profile is created or updated, when an intent to apply is submitted, when an application is submitted, a final report or an interim report are submitted. So because we're doing the media dump, we want to select application submitted so that we're telling Zapier when an applicant submits an application, all of the attached media should go to a storage cloud, and we'll do that second part in the action. But right now we're selecting application submitted as our trigger, save and continue. We'll select our account. If you've logged in for the first time, you won't see any connected accounts here, and you'll instead connect your account and then follow the steps to use your API key that you'll grab from your admin portal and then connect your GoSmart account. Now, I'm going to choose one of our test accounts, our Justice League account. I'll click Save and Continue. It's going to tell me right away that what I need to double check is that I have at least one recent application created. And the reason for this is that it's going to perform a test by going to, well, first of all, by checking my connection to my GoSmart account, and then by saying, is there actual data there that I can grab? And it needs to see at least one application in order to do that. So if you're just setting up your GoSmart site for the first time, you might need to actually register as a test user, create an account, submit it, and then come back to this step. Then I'm going to fetch and continue just to see if the connection and the data mining is going to work. My test was successful, so I'm going to continue. And now I'm going to select my action step. So my action app is where do I want my GoSmart data to end up? And I want it to end up in a Google Drive. So I'm going to select Google Drive from down here, or I could have started typing it in above. Then from their list of actions that their developers created, I'm going to tell the system, what do I want to do? Now I want to upload files from my GoSmart submitted applications into the Google Drive. Save and continue. Now, again, because this isn't the first time I've logged in, I've already associated some Google Drive accounts. If it's your first time in the system, you might have to click this Connect an Account, and then you'll give Zapier the credentials for your Google Drive. I'm going to select my Google Drive that's already in here. Then I'm going to set up my template. Now, depending on the action app that you choose, your options here might be a little bit different, but for Drive, they've said you can select which drive you want to go to. Now I want to select my Google Drive. Then from there, I want to select a folder that I've already created on my Google Drive where I want all of my zaps to go. So I've made this folder called Zapier Live Media Dump Test. I'm going to select that folder. Then I'm going to tell Zapier which files from GoSmart I want to go into this folder. So you'll click this menu icon to the right, and then you'll see our whole host of endpoints that we've made available based on this trigger. So some of these might look familiar to you. It's mostly that detailed information that your applicants can include when they upload items to their work samples bank. A lot of this won't be valuable to you at the folder level. What we want to do is really select the actual file. So the 4 media file types that are going to be available to you that you want to select are the samples download URL, and that's going to be any of the audio files that might be available. Then I'm going to type a comma and a space, and then go in and select a few more items. I'm going to select the sample variants download URL, and that's going to include any video. And again, I'm going to type a comma and a space. Then I'm going to come back and select my uploads downloads URL, which is going to include any file upload data. And then finally, I'm going to include one final URL, and that's going to include any images or documents. So my samples thumbnail URL. Do I want to convert to documents? No, I certainly do not, because I want these to be my actual files. So I'm going to select no. And then for my file name, I actually want to give it a name it's going to give a zip folder, because if my applicant has more than one item attached to their application, what it's going to do, at least in Google Drive, is create a zip folder of all of those items per applicant. So what seems to be working best for us is to scroll all the way down and select your application number. And then that way, when you're looking at your folder in Google Drive, you'll see a bunch of zip folders with this application number, and then you can associate that application number to the appropriate applicant. I don't want to add a file extension, but if I did want to, I could name it something like if this were my API cycle, or let's say a better example, if this were my community support cycle and this number was actually CS 180001, I might type out the word community support here. And then my zip folders would be called CS 18001 community support. This might be valuable if you do purchase a higher level of Zapier, and you can build things like filters where you can say, if the application ID starts with CS, send it to this folder. If the application ID starts with OS for operating support cycle, send it to X folder. That's when a file extension might be valuable for you, and when you might want to actually add a third step or a filter here. But that comes at a little bit higher of a level, and I'd be happy to walk you through that if you find yourself in that area. So in the meantime, we've asked for everything we want here. I'm going to click continue. Then Zapier is going to show me everything I'm looking for. It might not mean much to you since it's mostly just long URLs. Then we're going to send a test to Google Drive. If it's successful, and it was, because this file was sent and I have a green success bar, what that means is that if I were to navigate to my Google Drive right now and look in that folder, I would see a new zip with the appropriate name, API 18001, and then when I click in that zip, I would see all of the appropriate media files there. I'm going to go ahead and finish. If I hadn't already, I would give it a name, but we already called it media dump when we started, and then I would turn my Zap on. And then what happens next is, as you can see down below, once I turn my Zap on, Zapier is going to do a sweep every 15 minutes of my Go Smart account, and every buddy who's submitted in that 15-minute chunk, all of the media is going to now create a zip file inside my Google Drive folder, and that happens every 15 minutes as long as the Zap is on. So that's the kind of thing that you'll set up once, and then once you leave it on, it's always there. So what we envision for you here is that at the end of a cycle, you'll now have this wonderful hub where you can go and just view all of the media that's been attached, and you'll view it per application. So Zapier really exists to take away the need for you to do manual things with your digital data that otherwise could be happening just in the background automatically. All right, so that was our demo of Zapier. Now that you've seen it, you might wonder, what will this cost you? And as with many cloud products, there's a freemium version available, and we would recommend that freemium version initially so you can experiment and decide if it's a good fit. You can activate up to 5 Zaps or 5 workflows. For example, the one that we just looked at was one of 5 options. And then you can incur 100 tasks or the execution of a Zap per month at that free level. For $20 a month, you can raise that number to 20 Zaps and 1,000 tasks. And then there are, of course, even higher plans. And you can learn more about their pricing and additional plans at their website. So what API support will we offer? So of course, we're going to offer your API key at no additional charge. You just need to ask us to turn on that API tab. We'll offer tutorials for the most common triggers and actions currently available in Zapier. We would love to have future conversations with you about other ways you'd like to use your GoSmart data, including common software with which you'd like to integrate. If it's available in Zapier and there's a workflow that we hadn't thought of that is necessary for a lot of our clients, we'd love to talk about making that a possibility. And then finally, there's the possibility of us managing your Zapier account and integrations for an additional fee. But because this would incur additional costs for you and could require that you share your credentials and your payment information with us, we would just, of course, need to discuss the ramifications of that a little bit further. So now that you've seen a demo and you've learned a little bit more about what you could do with our API and Zapier, we'd love to hear from you about how you see yourself using those two products. And of course, let us know if you'd like to beta test, or let us know if you would just like to be kept aware as soon as the GoSmart application is available on Zapier past beta testing. And as always, if you have any additional questions about any of this, let me know at jessica.gronick@westaff.org. Thanks so much for joining us today.